Thank you, Anne Marie. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. It was a long time ago when I used to sit in these chairs too, so it brings back memories, mostly good ones. So I'm going to share with you some highlights of what is happening at Lane Bryant. And before I do that, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself in terms of, we'll cover three things today. Tell you a little bit about myself and how I got here. I know when I was sitting in your chairs, I used to always wonder how the speakers got to where they were. I'm also going to, I'm going to give you an overview of Lane Bryant and what's happening at Lane Bryant. And then I was going to talk a little bit about customer activation in a world of social media. So it's also about being a purpose-driven organization. And in that, we're going to go into a deeper dive into social media platforms, the open brand, and how your client shapes your brand as much as you shape the brand experience yourself. So with that, couple of lessons for some of you. Now, I entered college thinking that I would become a professor of history and literature. I got my MBA, never imagining I would be in fashion retailing. So a key message for all of you is be open to opportunities. In my sophomore year of college, I became very involved with the Student Social Change Program, which was focused on leveraging the judicial system to address tenant issues in South Boston. This experience impacted me greatly, and as a result of that, I made a decision to pursue public health as a career in college as well as when I graduated from college. Now, when funding for many of these programs evaporated, I tried a range of different opportunities like tourism, airline operations, service administration, deal making, and acquisitions. You might say I was a little not focused in things that I would try. But I started my retail career at CVS Pharmacy when it was part of a retail conglomerate called Melville. And I started in finance and was tapped for a number of opportunities which broadened my knowledge of all aspects of the business, from merchandising to real estate to marketing to supply chain management. And that is how I came to be in charge of planning and allocation later in my career. And after almost 10 years at CVS, I left to go to Timberland to head up sales operations and planning for North America for Timberland, which is now part of VF Corporation. The Limited Brands, now L Brands, tapped me while I was at Timberland to join them to head up a merchandise planning allocations a project, as well as to be part of the turnaround team that was at Bath & Body Works. And from that division role, I was moved into a corporate role doing enterprise planning across all of the divisions, which included Victoria's Secret's, Bath & Body Works, Express, as well as the Limited. Now, the work in that corporate role was very exciting. It was groundbreaking work. It has been attributed to some of the reasons why the Limited Brands got incredible valuations later on. But what I missed most in being in the corporate role was the day-to-day running of a business and being in a brand. And I really wanted to be prepared to be in the C spot at some point. So I started agitating to be moved into a brand, and I was very vocal about my desire to do so. The then chairman of Limited Brands and the CFO asked me to join the Limited in a co-leadership role. Now, this was the business that created most of the enterprise of L Brands, created great wealth for them, but it, over the decades, had become a shadow of its former self, was not profitable anymore, and I was really not interested in going there. And in fact, said to both Len Schlesinger and Martin Redgrave, if the Limited shuttered its doors tomorrow, who would care? Well, I was told that was a terrible thing to say, and I was asked to reconsider what I said. And the next lesson is, I keep doing this, sorry about that. be careful for what you ask. So I agreed to give the opportunity some consideration. And in fact, traveled around the country looking at limited stores, looking at Banana Republic, looking at Express, looking at all the competition that I thought that brand had, and began to see that there was a white space opportunity, and that this would be a great opportunity for me in a career to be part of a turnaround situation, as well as to figure out what its future could be. In doing that work, we prepared the brand to be sold to private equity, and as a result of that, the private equity firm asked me to stay on as the CEO of the Limited and to run it. And it was an amazing experience because not only did we get it to profitability in a couple of years, several years later, it became very, very profitable, became one of their best acquisitions. In response to the customers that we were serving at the Limited, we would get a lot of customers that would come in and say, I used to be able to wear the Limited, but I can't anymore. When are you going to give something that I can wear to me? And from that experience, I formed a brand called Eloquy that was since sold. We were asked to shutter it after 2.5 years of operation, and we were getting great traction. It pained me greatly to have to do that. But then I'm very proud of the team that we had assembled that is still now part of Eloquy, and it's now an online business that is making great strides in the plus segment. But it was that experience of starting that brand that got me aware of what the plus segment was about. And in that lesson, I learned to listen. It's really important to never underestimate the sophistication of your customer and to always be looking for new insights that you might get from the women you serve or from whatever customer base that you might have. So listening to customers, listening to women is a large part of what I do in my job and what we try to encourage all of our associates at Lane Bryant to do as well. The last lesson that I would tell you is to invest in yourself. I was not looking to leave the Limited, but the opportunity in this segment of plus and working at Lane Bryant presented itself to me. And it was very compelling because through much of my career, I had been working in businesses that were the next player up, not the #1 segment leader, and also in turnaround situations. And to be able to go into a brand of scale, as well as one with an amazing heritage, was an amazing opportunity for me. I also realized that starting Eloquy was something that really resonated with me because it was really solving a need for an important segment. And it taught me that you can learn a lot through these experiences. You stay abreast of trends. You hire a workforce much younger than yourself from whom you learn a lot. And that's the best advice I can tell you, is there's so many people that you can learn from if you're just open to being a little bit humble and to accepting that knowledge. And it was something I learned from my grandmother. When I was 10 years old, my 70-year-old immigrant grandmother asked me to help her with her English so she wouldn't sound like an immigrant. And of course, me being a little bit of an obnoxious kid that I was, said to her, but Grandma, you are an immigrant. But what was a wonderful experience was reading the newspaper together and hearing her attitudes about what was happening in America at the time. I learned a lot about multi-generational attitudes as well as a different perspective from what I had been raised with. But what was really important to me was her being humble enough to know that there was something that she could learn better. And so that would be the other thing I would tell you is no matter what age you are, you can always learn and you should always be investing in yourself. So those are my personal lessons. Let's talk about Lane Bryant. So Lane Bryant is a 114-year-old brand. And though its mark has changed over the door, its mission has not. It was founded by a woman, an immigrant from Russia, who had to learn to sew after she became widowed, or she was a seamstress and then had to open a shingle in her own shop, her own apartment, to take care of her little baby when her husband passed away. And she made her great mark in women's apparel by creating a maternity gown that allowed women in the 1920s, in their laying-in period, when they were not supposed to be seen in public, to be able to hide the bump and go out in public. And while this was a dress that was greatly acclaimed by society women, the real beneficiaries of that invention was working-class women, who could then prolong the amount of time they could work in the factories during their time that they were pregnant. So it was a really important social invention, in addition to being a business proposition for her. So for generations, Lane Bryant has been providing the plus-size customer and women with no voice with a solution and with fashion. And yes, our terminology has changed and evolved, and this is an actual photo, an actual ad.
One word, sexy. So, I'm born with this role. It's all about, having in my eyes, something that looks like this. Beautiful. I mean, honey, have you seen all this? Well, I know. Of all kinds of sexy. Conceived exclusively from Lane Bryant.
We've come a long way, baby. So we anchor our mission and its articulation through our campaign in our brand's core purpose, which is to change the way women see themselves in the world and the way the world sees women. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Simon Sinek, or have any of you watched his videos? No. Well, it's something you should definitely go on YouTube and watch. One of his main premises for businesses today and for people is to understand the why you do what you do. And the why of a business is as important as the what or the how. Now, our why is to enable the pursuit of happiness and dignity, and our how is to empower her through our fashion. Our what becomes our core purpose, which is to fuel the social revolution by challenging our very narrow standards of beauty and challenging the fashion industry to be more inclusive. So let me explain this a little further. For me, it's always been about the math. The women's apparel business is about $120 billion of top-line growth. And it's growing at about 2% last year, although it has been relatively flat in previous years. Within it, we have the plus category, which is defined as a size 12. And in fashion, it's defined as anything above a size 8. Now, who here will share their size? How many of you are size 8 or greater? How many of you are size 12 or greater? Okay, see? You have to self-avow to be included in what's called the plus industry. And the plus business is one of the fastest growing parts of the apparel industry. It's on a much faster trajectory for growth today, and it's projected to go even faster tomorrow. Now this shows you the size of the prize. This is the US female dress size distribution. And what you see is that more than 67% of the American female population is a size 12 or larger. And if you work through the math of what we see as this plus size business, and you strip out the juniors, petites, maternity, and regular Missy, it's where the industry comes up with the remainder of being about a $24 billion opportunity. But because many women won't avow themselves to be plus, we actually think it's a much larger or more significant segment of the population. Which is why we say that if 67% of the female population is a size 12 or larger, the math doesn't quite equate to why it's only considered to be somewhere around a $24 billion industry. We see this as a much more significant part of the opportunity in a women's apparel. Lane Bryant sits just below the big box players of Walmart and Macy's. and but roughly a 5% share. Now, as I said, we're a 116-year-old brand, and we have the unique experience, capability, and credibility to serve what we call the her size customer. We try to purge the word plus as much as possible because no one wants to be a label. And we know all about how to use size as a label. But we're saying this is so much more than that. We see ourselves as a brand in the midst of a cultural revolution. Our heritage, rooted by our founder, as I said, Bryant, was very much about giving all women the great fashion they deserve and not putting a label on them or not keeping them hidden in the world. Now, we are the leaders of a very abundant consumer segment. And again, more than 2/3 of the American female population are a size 12 or larger. We believe no one knows her as well as we do. We believe no one can serve her as well as we can. And it's very much about being a modern brand, which is being prepared to listen to what she wants and help her define better who she is. Now, we've been in a turnaround. We were acquired by Ascena Corporation in 2012. I joined the brand in February of 2013. And it was very much about breathing new life into this business, redefining it away from being a size business to being a fashion business, and touching all parts of that in the process, from product to talent to marketing. And we're going to focus a little bit on the product and a lot on the marketing in terms of what we've been trying to do. Now, we have some categories that we call our best at categories. These are typically the hardest to get right in apparel and the way to cement her loyalty the best. For us, this includes pants, jeans, and bras. And we have an amazing sub-brand called Cacique, which you saw featured in that ad, that is our intimates business. Our win at categories are the growth vehicles for the brand. These include tops, but also a brand that we created called Livy, which hits a lifestyle around her athleisure as well as her athletic activities. It's definitely a performance-based business that we root the orientation in that. We heard from women, again, it's about listening to women, that when they wanted to go work out, they had to borrow clothes from their boyfriends to be able to go work out because there was no plus offering in activewear. The belief was she wasn't really going to work out, she just wanted to look like she was working out. And we said, bunk that. We know that she wants to work out. And so we created this activewear line. Again, I mentioned Cacique Intimates as a critical part of our offering. We specialize in full cup bras, but what we're finding is it's been an amazing alternative for her to other lines like a Victoria's Secrets, where she can really be fitted in the way that she needs to be. Now, we're not looking at individual foundation pieces as revenue drivers, but we continue to involve our entire business model so that a customer can enter a store, go online, and clearly see our outfitting options. Again, what our job is to do is to give her the fashion she deserves and help her figure out her own style, because that's what she owns. Now, part of what we've done to underscore the point that this is a fashion business, not a size business, is to engage the designer community in addressing this client's needs. It's very hard to fit our client appropriately. It's a bit of art and science. And for most designers, they, in their ateliers, will grade from a Missy standard and will only go to a size 8. So we approached a number of them and asked them to make their brand, their labels more accessible to the client that we served, who has no access. Many women take it for granted that they can go into a store and buy a designer label, whereas most plus size women cannot. They are not carried. Saks won't typically carry over a size 8 on their floor. Think about that. It's as if Amazon says they're not going to ship to 2/3 of the country. That's the point we're trying to make. We've been very fortunate in being able to engage Christian Siriano, Isabel Toledo, who has an installation right now at the Museum of Art, and I really recommend that you go. It's really beautiful. She and her husband, Ruben, truly collaborate creatively together, and it's a really impactful presentation. So I do recommend seeing it. Leela Rose, Prabal Gurung is next up. We'll be bringing his products to life in our stores in March. And Sophie Thialet, who did some special capsule collections for Cacique. Every one of these designers has signed on and really believes in the democratization of what we're trying to do. Now, part of what we have to do as a brand and turnaround, in order to be a business that does good, you have to be good at the business of being a business. And so we've had to rebalance all of our investments, from our store development to our marketing investments to focusing on the product, as well as leveraging all other components of the business. So what have these campaigns really done for us? Well, they have been significant traffic drivers and clearly have put Lane Bryant on the map in a different way than what we have seen before. It's a new Lane Bryant, and many people had assumed it was their mother's brand or their grandmother's brand. And what we're finding is our fastest growing segment is the 25 to 35-year-old who needs our size range. When we launched the I'm No Angel campaign, which you saw, it went global and it went viral. And we had over 15 billion media impressions within a couple of weeks. We actually took over New York, and we launched an out-of-home, which we find really resonates very well with our client, because not only is 67% of the American female population a size 12 or larger, less than 20% of all media that you see every day reflects who this woman is. And that's the other piece of what we try to challenge with these campaigns, is to show the relevant face of American women to America.
We're so sexy you can't ignore us, and we're not leaving.
So let's talk about this campaign. You're helping launch a whole new line of sexy lingerie for Lane Bryant.
You know, what the campaign stands for is empowerment and, you know, self-worth and, you know, self-esteem and what does define beauty.
Social media seems to approve. Seriously loving the I'm No Angel campaign. Victoria's Secret has presented a narrow standard of sexiness for too long, goes one tweet. Lane Bryant CEO Linda Heasley.
These women are beautiful. These women look hot. These women are definitely sexy.
But if you follow the Twitter feeds and the Instagram feeds, it's been almost universally positive. Women, I think, have been looking for a retailer, a fashion retailer, to make this kind of statement.
Clearly, the demographics are in our favor, but it's more than just what size you are. It's about being who you are and embracing who you are. And that's what the campaign is about.
This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song.
The models here sizes 12 to 28. And it's just cool.
It's about empowering women and the way they are, and owning our curves, and just feeling free to be beautiful.
It's about beauty beyond size. We're embracing every type of body.
We're just doing our thing, and I think it'll excite and energize women all over, to empower every woman to just be comfortable.
We believe that too often the woman we serve has been told what she can and cannot do, and we're saying, write your own rules. Wear what you want. We're going to help you look great every step of the way.
Now I'll be strong. I'll blow my fight song. And I don't really...
I'm no angel. I'm myself. I refuse to be categorized.
Just over all the labels, all the hoopla.
Symbol of confidence.
I'm no angel because I won't back down.
No, I've still got a lot of fire left in me.
So we say that this campaign was rooted in one word, is sexy, and a fundamental truth. Who doesn't love a great rack? So we followed this campaign with underscoring the point that if 67% of the American female population is a size 12 or larger, but she sees media only 20% of the time that reflects who she is, how do we make that the point? That it's time to dump the label of plus and to show this that she is equal.
I don't think it matters what size you are.
So this was launched last fall, and again, we did a takeover of New York City as a result of the Without a Home, which was really impactful. And we got incredible responses from our client talking about how important it was for her to see herself on the buses of New York. Now, what happened with I'm No Angel is we also put a lot of out of home and play in New York City. We wrapped the F train with our beautiful cast, and you'll never be allowed to wrap the F train again with women in lingerie. But it was still fun. We had a great time with it. So then this past spring, we were looking for a new platform. Plus is Equal was arguably a little cerebral in its messaging. It really got people, it was supposed to challenge our thinking on what it means to use the labels plus. No one wants to be called plus. No one wants to be +1 at a wedding. Why would you ever want to call yourself plus? So we started working on, okay, what could be the right platform to continue to fuel this relative to how beautiful our women are and how she is amazing and can do anything she wants. So we created the This Body platform. This was launched in February of this past year, and we followed it up this fall.
This body, this body, this body, and this body is made for moving the world. It's made for being bold, powerful, and sexy. This body, this body is made for love. This body, it's made for rock and dinner. This body is made for sex. It's made for living. It's made for jail. This body is made for breaking the mold. This body is made for starting a revolution. What's your body made for?
So this campaign got significant play, but you never saw it. The media wanted us, the networks wanted us to edit the campaign, which we refused to do. So we released it through social platforms and got picked up significantly, again, around the globe.
This body is made for starting a revolution.
Is model Ashley Graham's new commercial too hot for TV? We've learned that Ashley's This Body campaign for Lane Bryant will not air on various TV stations. The ad celebrates plus-size women, including a mom breastfeeding a newborn. The company says what is too much for some does not hold true for others.
Your body's poetry, move your body for me. Your body's poetry, move your body for me.
This body.
This body. This body.
This body is made for proving them wrong.
So a new commercial for Lane Bryant Positive Body Campaign. It features curvy models, including Sports Illustrated's cover girl Ashley Graham. It was rejected by multiple networks, which of course is great for them because then it's deemed a controversy, and we play part of it for free.
Fighting the good fight every day, you guys. The SI swimsuit cover girl is currently starring in Lane Bryant's new This Body campaign, which some are saying is unfit to air.
The ad shows what you would see in pretty much any lingerie ad.
Lane Bryant, they submit this ad they filmed to both ABC and NBC, and both networks get back to Lane Bryant with the same response: we're rejecting your commercial. My immediate reaction is it's a size issue.
There are more women that find themselves represented within the plus-size community. They look at us and they see themselves, and I think it's important to continue to push the boundaries, and it's really an honor to be in the forefront of all this change and to get to see it in our generation.
I think it's an amazing campaign that, again, Lane Bryant has come and just set their foot in and said, we are here.
So we've had a little bit of fun. So how do we assess all of these opportunities and the actions that we've taken? We call it the customer journey, her size fashion wheel, where we look at what does it take to be on this journey with her as she engages with our brand. From disinterested in the category of plus fashion, or her size fashion as we like to say, to being somewhat interested in it, to purchasing, to sharing, and being an advocate of the brand. And what we look at is both the aspirational and emotional components of the brand, as well as the delivery, the value equation, and the actual expectations, the benefits that she would get, from social shopping to fashion trend to addressing body changes to being something that helps her belong and look appropriate, etc. And we force most of our decision making in the brand along this journey framework to ensure that we remain true to ourselves as a brand, as well as really deliver on points that are important for her. Each one of those quadrants is then blown out, and we map it to comments that we get from our customer base, so we understand exactly how we are affecting change for her. And then we look for metrics relative to traffic, relative to frequency of purchase, relative to the average order value on the online store, to what her average transaction is in our stores. So there's a lot of quantification that goes to something that looks like it's very fluffy and not very tangible, to something that really does get down to how are we driving business benefit. And then we come up with the word map that we explode out at the very end. And what's been interesting is what we came to realize, and I think it's been a journey for us as a brand, is many of our associates felt that our customer came to us because she was ashamed of herself, she was downtrodden, she was depressed, and what we found out is she's not. She's a highly engaged woman, has a very full life, loves to shop. She shops 24/7 as she can, and where she gets disappointed is when we as retailers let her down. When we as retailers don't get her from a fit standpoint, from a fashion standpoint, don't give her enough options, that's when she gets mad. So that where you see frustrated and disappointed is all tied to those components of her experience with the brand. How do we know it's working? Well, we read a lot of letters. And again, as I said earlier, it's about listening to the customer. Here's a letter that came out of our affiliation with Glamour. Glamour, when I first came to the brand, I pulled all print advertising from various publications. My point to them is until they had better representation of who our client was in their books, we were not going to spend the money and insult our client. Glamour was the first one to come to the table. They actually did a survey of their readership when we challenged them to do so, and they found out that their customers, their readers, were disappointed with the fact that they weren't being represented in their pages. So we're moving towards Glamour, including more pages for this customer and addressing her needs. At the same time, they've been partnering with us on a collection, a drop of product every month over the next year and a half that gives their sort of Glamour seal of approval on the fashion forwardness of what we're doing. But this woman wrote, Sarah, thank you for the beautiful model in the Lane Bryant ad in your April 2016 issue. My whole life I have been active, boxing, Zumba, CrossFit, running, biking, hiking, etc. But no matter how strong, how fast, or how agile I was always told I was too fat. Sure, I had some curves, but I was often the strongest kid out there. But everyone from my family to my coaches to my teachers told me I would be so much better if I slimmed down, and that if it was so easy, you just have to have discipline. Well, it takes a lot of discipline to be as active as I am, getting up every day and sticking to a workout schedule. I've been a fan of Glamour for years, but seeing that ad, seeing a woman with a full body figure like me, I had to stop and look at it for 5 whole minutes. I never really considered what the models in magazines looked like. After all, I wasn't one of them. But seeing a woman who looked like me with the curvy belly and round face striking such a sexy pose, I felt as if I was seeing me, seeing how sexy I can be. I still have the magazine, and I plan on keeping it just for that one picture, because when I feel upset that I can't look perfect, despite how hard I work, I just look at her, and suddenly I don't feel so ugly anymore.
Hello, I'm Danielle Brooks. You know, being a teenager is really difficult, especially when you're in a world where you can't fit all of the clothes in a normal store. So thank God for an incredible artist named Indy Irie who wrote a song called Private Party. It's all about, you know, taking a moment for yourself and having a private moment for yourself and loving you. That night, I remember going home and just writing all of these positive affirmations all over my body and standing in the mirror until I was like, I love me. And that was the beginning of my journey of really accepting to love myself. My body is made for being Superwoman.
So you may know her as Tasty in Orange is the New Black. And she's been one of the key cast members in our most recent This Body campaign. This body campaign was fueled by, after our first This Body campaign in the spring, and the ad that you saw, the hate mail that I got. What do you mean putting women that look like that on billboards? No woman like that should wear a bikini. And I was speaking to our creative agency about it. It was very disturbing to me. And so they came up with the idea of this body campaign that just ran, which features this cast: Danielle Brooks, Gabby Sidibe, Candace Safine, Ashley Graham, and some new cast. We always try to have a new model in the mix. So Alessandra Garcia, who is Andy Garcia's daughter, was part of the campaign as well. And featuring them in a way that got back at the mean tweets, the whole social media platform that fuels this great negativity, and it's supposed to be inspiring for all women to give them the tools to fight back.
I am Gabourey Sidibe. This body is made for magic because I can do anything. Like, I can do anything. So I just directed my first film. 6 days ago, I didn't know that I could direct a film. 2 months ago, I didn't know that I wanted to. Forever ago, I didn't know that I was smart enough to. Now that I've done it, I know how little insecurities matter. 4 years ago, I said that I couldn't write a book. 10 years ago, I said that I couldn't act. 15 years ago, I said that I couldn't be happy. Every time I declare that I can't do something, I'm immediately knocked down with the truth. No matter what, thank God my insecurities didn't keep me from being an actor, didn't keep me from writing a book, didn't keep me from directing, didn't keep me from doing anything at all. I'm f***ing doing it. At the very least, I'm doing it on my own terms. This body was made to shine through.
So please go and check out the new This Body campaign is made to shine through. And as I said, it again is another tongue-in-cheek poke at the world to challenge our very narrow definitions of what beauty in America is about. And I guess that's it. So thank you, and I don't know if there's time for questions or if anyone has anything they want to ask. Okay. We declared in the question is, are we eliminating the word plus from our vocabulary? Internally, we call it her size. When plus is used as a sign of positivity, we love it. But when it's used to label and as a sign of negativity, we hate it. So yes, internally, we've been asking our cast a lot, what do they think about it? As a Google search term, it's very efficient. But for any other reason, we would say not. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, yes. So the question is, when I was brought in to turn around the brand, what was my greatest frustration along the way in the process of it? Moving fast enough. And brands are about the emotional connection you have with the people that you serve as well as the associates that you lead. And it's all of being in this role, it's about leading hearts and minds. It's about setting the vision out there and then helping your teams get to where you want them to go, as well as get them to agree this is where they want to go. You all want to take the hill together. And it's been about making it go a little faster. We had to integrate with Ascena from our system standpoint, and again, what I love about our associates is it hasn't been the easiest journey along the way, but they've stayed with it every step of the way, and they have such a can-do attitude, which makes me really proud. So I have to say there's been more things I've been really appreciative of and very proud of than frustrated with, but I wish we could move it a little faster. And social change takes a long time. I've read that it takes on average 30 years to change people's perceptions. So I look forward to all of you and to the children you have, because I think this is going to be a ridiculous argument. What is plus and what does this mean later on? So I can't wait fast enough for that to be the case as well. And again, I have great hopes for the generations that come that just won't have these biases and these judgments. So, yes. So the question is, a lot of retailers are scaling back their bricks and mortar presence in favor of the online store and the omni presence, and we're absolutely right there with them. When I got to the brand, the Charming Shops, which had sold the business to Ascena, had convinced Ascena that Lane Bryant could have 1,200 doors, and I called it the death march to 1,200. We stopped all of that. And we're currently sitting at when I joined the brand, we were at 850 doors. We're currently sitting at about 760. And we're continuing to look at our fleet to reposition it. We also very deliberately drove even more traffic online. And it's not even about the online presence anymore. It's very much about the smart device. So as soon as we re-platform, which we're in the midst of doing right now, we'll make that experience even better for her. And I believe it's the way people are going to be doing business. At the same time, our bricks and mortar presence is an amazing way for her to engage with the brand, particularly if she isn't confident of how to put an outfit together. Roughly 50% of our online orders are shipped to a store, where she chooses to come in and engage with one of our associates to figure out, do I exchange a size, or is there something different that I need to add onto this look? And 30% of those times that she comes to the store with that online order, she purchases something else. So we very much believe it is that omni-channel experience. And if you go to our Polaris store, which is across from the Polaris Mall, we're testing a new concept called a Style Studio. It's to give this client a personal shopping experience. So you can call in, you can book an appointment with one of our stylists, and she will help you put a look together. And as a result of that, that store has done phenomenal volume. So we believe still that the store experience is a critical part of a branded retail experience, particularly with women's apparel. You just have to be smart about how you leverage each touch point with her as part of a brand experience. So it's very exciting for us. And I love I can't wait for our mobile experience, because we'll be able to download apps for her. We'll be able to help her figure out her personalized experience that she wants. So there's more to come. It's a great question. Yes?
So I worked at Victoria's Secret back in 2012, and I was a bra specialist there. So I know there was a lot of concerns for big women not able to fit bras. Now that you guys have a wide selection, do you guys consider expanding into that and doing something along the lines of Victoria's Secret, or to target them to get them?
Well, we didn't. The question was about the Victoria's Secrets relative to the Cacique experience and how we were approaching it from a size standpoint. We never looked to clip the wings of any competitor, but what we were trying to do was to show that there is a customer that doesn't affiliate with some intimates brands. At the same time, there's a need, whereas Victoria's Secrets doesn't carry above a double D. I think they're now starting to show a triple D. We will go up to an FG and H cup, and we're working at even larger. And there's a significant number of women in America that have that need, and we provide them with not only a great fitting bra that takes support off of her shoulders through the special tension, the power meshes that we have built into it, as well as a wire that gives her great support. It's a sexy offering, as you saw in those pictures. She deserves to feel sexy too. As I said, in their conversations with women in focus groups, what we found is that and why we think there's such an emotional connection with Cacique is that her chest is the one part of her anatomy that she feels she's better than most women in America, and I can tell you she's better than me. So she can feel like she can be prized for being big-breasted, which is important to Americans, for many Americans, and she feels great about that. So it was again, listening to customers gave us an insight about Cacique that the brand hadn't had before, and amplified our desire to make it an even better product for her, put more into launches, as well as into the beautiful factor of that product itself. Great question.
All the time we have left, but thank you, Linda, very much.
Thank you all.